Hey y'all, it's Betsy from Cuttin Corners Vinyl. And over here I like to focus on all things vinyl, sublimation, and screen printing. And if that sounds good to you, then why don't you think about staying a while and joining the Cuttin Corners family? So, I got this idea that if I could create my perfect cutter, like a Cricut craft version or a GraphTech professional version, then I thought about taking it a step further. And I thought about what it would be like to create a heat press, my perfect heat press. Would it be like my beloved Heat Press Nation Craft Pro? Or would it be like my Stahl's Hotronix Air Fusion? What I came up with is unique, or at least I feel like it is, because I have had one foot in each world for a long time. I have a lot of experience in the craft world, and I have a lot of experience in the professional world. So I have a unique perspective from both sides. Now, if these ideas are already out there, I am not trying to steal them. I thought of this video idea last night because of a comment someone made on a video. And I was so excited I wanted to go ahead and film this and get this up. So I apologize now. This is all in good fun, and this is not to criticize any brand. Also, I have epilepsy, and the medication that I am on, plus epilepsy, I stumble over my words quite a bit, and it makes me lose train of thought. Plus, I have two 6-month-old puppies underneath me that will get up from time to time and require my attention. So I have a script, and with that in the medicine, you might see funny jump cuts. I try to transition better, but please bear with me. It happens from time to time, so please be understanding, or if you see me looking down. Let's start off with the Cuttin Corners cutter. I'm still working on the name. You know, this is all concept to me. Now, first thing I would start off with would be the colors. I would only offer it in 2 colors, black and white. Now, one thing that does drive me nuts across the board for most machines, whether it be Cricut, whether it be Silhouette, whether it be Brother Scan and Cut, or even the professional lines, GraphTech, Suma, Puma, Roland, is that nothing matches. If they come out with a new machine, 90% of the time it's going to be different colors. I don't understand why they don't do like what electronic companies do, like PlayStation, Xbox. It's either black or white. They will come out with special edition colors that you can pay extra for, but it's black or white. I would rather it be that way. Now, you can buy face plates for it if you want it to match your decor, but basic black and white. I would much rather that, at least in my opinion. Now, for sizes, let's do a 15-inch, a 20-inch, and a 24-inch. There's reasoning behind that. For most of your regular size rolls of vinyl, for t-shirts, and the smaller size for adhesive, it's going to be 15, 19, 18 or 19, which a lot of your glitters are actually like 19 and a quarter or 19 and a half. So that's where the 20-inch and 24-inch for your basic adhesives. So that's where those sizes come in. Now, a lot of your adhesives will then jump up to like 30-inch, 36-inch, but we'll cap it at 24-inch because if you're wanting to get better, then you could offer like a pro line. Now, I don't want any doors, any covers. To me, they just get in the way. Yeah, they can make your machine look a little bit nicer, but for the most part, there are other features that I would rather instead of doors or covers, in my opinion. Now, another thing that I would like on a cutter would be locking pinch rollers. with the guides built into it. So what I mean by guides, like on Cricut and Silhouette, you will have where your mat goes in, where it has these little things that, like for your papers, it holds it in place. Doesn't really hold it in place, but it guides your paper through to keep it straight. Now on professional machines, there's nothing there that really keeps it straight. And I'm like, well, why don't they have that built into the pinch rollers? It would be almost kind of genius to have it built in that way, because I think that you would almost need a hybrid machine that is the best of both worlds, that will do the work of a crafting machine but does the work of a professional machine. So you would still have mats to be able to cut your tiny pieces, but would also offer the capabilities for rolls. Now, I know you can do that with Silhouette. Now, you know you can do it with Cricut, but it's made to do this. So you would have a roll attachment for the back that locks your roll in place, and then you would have the guides on the front and the back, and then a place to be able to tape your roll to. Because if you've done professional work before where you're laminating, printing, and cutting, you tape your vinyl when you're doing big print jobs, so it rolls it to keep it together so your print's not dragging the floor. This is something, if you've done big print work, you're used to doing. But it really doesn't, it auto feeds it, but it doesn't really have guides in place. But you could do this on a smaller scale. Why not? Use it on a smaller scale. So that would be kind of melding the two worlds together. Now, as I said, some of these things aren't new, but it's merging them. Another thing that would be amazing to have is color-coded blade housings that come with the machine and a storage spot for it. So, for all of your blades, you have your deep cut, which would be your 60-degree blade, your 45-degree blade, your fine, you know, so you'd have all your blades, and each one would have their housing, which would also, in their storage spot, would be the ring that matched the housing, which also has, whenever you go to change your blade, which would have the matching rubber tip. So everything is color coded. So if you don't use it that often, everything goes together. It makes it very streamlined. So there's no forgetting, because that's an issue people have. It just makes things easier. But also for the professional world, it makes it so you don't grab the wrong thing, because I have grabbed the wrong thing. It happens. It just, you know, to err is human. It keeps the human side of error down. Again, some of these things are not new. It's just adding them all together to have the perfect machine. Now, as far as software goes, what I would like to see as far as software is a beginner-friendly software that you can choose to unlock advanced features. So, what I mean by that is, you start off with like beginner basic features, like say your Cricut style features. And then that comes free with it. And then say you want to have more to it. It's $5 upgrade. And you can continue to pay small amounts. We're not talking the amount to upgrade it to Photoshop money, but you can get to almost Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator features, or maybe you could, I don't know how much it would cost, like I'm not a programmer, to be able to build that type of software into it, but to be able to have those features into it, but you could unlock it to that level. But it would depend on your skill level. But have it all in one. So you're not having to have 30 different programs, because that is an issue people have to deal with. But everything integrates into one program. So you can do everything once. I like that idea. One of the things that I do like about that too is I don't want it to be an internet-based program, because that's one thing I really don't like about Cricut, is that you have to be on the internet to use it. I don't want it to be a cloud-based program. And what I mean by that is I don't want it to have to be like a monthly subscription. I don't like that. You know, to me, if you want to have people pay for extra things, pay for unlocking extra features. You know, let people know that up front. That's one thing. But don't make them pay monthly to use your service. They're paying enough up front. Or let them have a design store that they can pay for that for. Another thing, print and cut. Because if you buy like a dye sublimation machine, or that has like a roll attachment, because you can get those. Or if you decide at some point you want to buy a eco-solvent printer or a latex machine, because they make those, you can use in conjunction with a cutter. Or heck, even a inkjet printer that you can use roll material on, that it will print and cut any size that your printer will cut to. Because I don't think you should be limited to an 8x10 sheet of paper and then only be able to cut and print something that small. That's just my opinion. Professional grade parts. And what I mean by that is like Graphtec has servo motors. Now I think it's Silhouette has the servo motor. I'm not sure if it's the exact same one that all of the professional grade has in it, but servo motors are absolutely amazing. They're fast. They're so good. And I would want the top of the line in it. And now what I'm talking about is not going to be the cheapest of cheap. I'm hoping that it wouldn't be the most expensive either, but I'm hoping that it would end up being somewhere in the middle. But this would be something that would be pretty much easy to use, but hopefully advanced enough to be able to pretty much create whatever you want. I would still want like 2 housings, so if you wanted to do handwriting with it, you could. I would want advanced registration mark sensors, because trying to use registration mark sensors in the Cricut, in Brother Scan and Cut, in Silhouette, they are not that great. But like the registration mark sensors in the Roland or in the HP, not the HP, they are so much better. The optical eye, so much better. So they can be offered. You just kind of have to find out how to do it on a smaller scale. Now, as far as sending things to actually cut, I would like crafter grade ease of use. Now, if you have ever used a professional cutting software, now I'm not talking about Silhouette, but that's still more complicated than like Cricut, where you have to choose like your speed and force and all that kind of stuff. I would like there to be like a list of materials, which pretty much each brand could put in their list of materials. And this could even be done with paper companies and things like this too. You could almost download a list if there's materials that you would like to put into your machine that you just pick and choose, that you could choose on the mat or off the mat. They can test it. This is kind of where the genius part comes in. You pick your materials, you set it in your machine, and it goes. Because whenever you're dealing with professional software, a lot of times you have to choose your speed, your force, and like, it's pretty complicated. And even on the machine itself, you have this little LCD screen. And even though you choose things a lot of times on your computer, you have to like make sure that you choose it on the LCD screen, and then you've got to choose your X-axis and your Y-axis, and it's a lot to remember. And if it's not upgraded to this point, and the software itself a lot of times isn't that great, even though it's a pro grade software, that's always why I'm like, you need an outside art program, you need an outside art program, because their program typically isn't that amazing. This is what I would include in my perfect cutter. Now, I'm sure that there was more I could think of, but this is what came to me off the top of my head. Now we're going to move on to my perfect heat press, because cohesiveness matters to me. Again, that is one of those things that irks my nerves. I own several things from Cricut. It bothers me to no end that things do not match. I have owned several things from Silhouette. They don't match. I have owned several big pieces of equipment from Graphtech. They don't match. Brother, they don't match. From M&R, which is a big screen print company, they do not match. There is something to me, even as a professional sign screen print owner, that in my head, that branding, all that kind of stuff matters to me, that when things match, there's a cohesiveness that make you look more professional, that it just looks good to me. Now, if I have to choose between form and function, I'm going to choose function, yes. But if I can have both, I'm going to choose both. If you have seen me, or if you're in like my Facebook groups or anything like that, I will hide things that are not pretty. Always, if I can, because I would rather have pretty too. So again, colors would be black and white with changeable faceplates, because I think that that's important. Just FYI. When thinking about my perfect heat press, other than the color issue, because as you can tell, cohesiveness is something that bothers me, and not wanting to take into consideration a pneumatic press, because one, they're expensive. You know, dealing with an air compressor is loud, they're bulky. You know, a lot of people don't want to invest in it. I don't want to have a pneumatic press again, because again, they're expensive, they're bulky. My room that I am filming out of right now is tiny. I don't want to deal with it. And my Craft Pro heat press is amazing, but with my illness, and you know, I'm losing some strength in my hand, and adjusting the knob now is becoming a little bit more difficult. So thinking about that, I was like, what would make it easier to adjust pressure on my heat press? And I started doing some research. You know, I thought about a pulley system. I thought about several different things. And one of the things I came up with, now I have no idea if this would actually work or not, but what about using almost like a jack system, but instead of lowering and raising the upper platen, having a knob on the side to raise and lower the lower platen. You could still have the pull-out drawer. The knob on the side would be a little bit easier to turn, because you could almost make it a little bit more of a crank handle, like an old school raise and lower window, you know. Get into, my hand's not on the screen, but you know, that action. Let's get into the, wouldn't that be a little bit easier? And you could probably also, with it being on bottom, not super close to the heating element, You could probably have an upgrade feature where it had a hydraulic element. I'm not sure if that would be possible, but like a car jack. I went and looked it up and I was like, because I was like, why are we always worried about lowering and it would probably be a little bit easier on the machine itself, because the upper platen is where all of the wiring and stuff like that is. If you're not constantly lowering and raising that, it would be easier on the wiring portion. So maybe that might be a little bit easier. Not 100% sure, but that seems like it would be an idea that would work. And I have never seen where the bottom platen raises and goes up and down. Maybe I'm wrong, but that seems to be a little bit easier to deal with. Also, another thing that I would love to see is where you adjust that arrows that say more and less. So that way you know which way to turn to get more pressure and less pressure. Another thing I would love to see is the handle to have either a comfort grip or a memory foam handle. So something that's really easy to grip onto, that's really comfortable. Like really comfortable. And part of where this comes from is because I'm thinking about it from my perspective, mobility issues. You know, something that's a little bit easier. Because a lot of people who are doing crafting are dealing with some of these same issues that I am. Maybe not the exact same, but are dealing with some of these things. Now, this isn't actually to do with the physical heat press, but it kind of has to deal with it. An optional height adjustable cart that goes underneath it, so it will deal with your petite people all the way up to your tall people, that comes in the black and white as well, that looks like furniture, that has storage. We don't want it to look industrial. We don't want it to just be a stand, that your heat press goes onto. That's sturdy. I still want it to have a pull-out drawer, because if it's a clamshell, I don't mind a clamshell. Clamshells are the easiest because it doesn't take up much space. Swing-aways are a little bit more difficult to store because you have to have room for it to go back and forth. A clamshell, if you got a pull-out drawer, easy to deal with. But a swing-away, you know, you got to have it where you've got a lot more room. But see how much easier that would deal with? But I want a storage cart that you can adjust depending on your size. Tell me that wouldn't be wonderful. That it's easy to raise and lower. Easy. Almost like a hairstylist chair where you just pump it up and down. Because if you've got other people in your shop or even your house that are using it, you can just raise it and lower. Tell me that wouldn't be wonderful. And to me, this could almost start to be a whole product line where this could be like, you could do it for sublimation. You could do it for everything. Now, I'm not sure if anybody actually cares about my thoughts, but if you do, make sure you share this, because, you know, I don't care if like big companies steal this, because if someone made this, I would buy it in a heartbeat, because like, this is the things that I care about seeing. And again, I like cohesive. So other people may not care about the color stuff like I do, but I think it's important. And if you do want to see fun colors, you could release like special edition of things. But other than that, keep it cohesive. All in all, this is what I would consider my perfect products. Let me know down below what you would consider to be your perfect products. If you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Also, if you're not subscribed, think about joining the Cuttin Corners family. You can also hit that bell notification and make sure to turn on all notifications if you want to see all of my uploads. All of my social medias are linked in the description box, so if you want to follow me over there. But I guess that's it. I love you guys, and I will see y'all later. Bye.